If you're somebody that speaks with people for a living, whether you're that manager speaking with your team or that financial professional speaking with your customers via this new virtual stuff that we have had going on for about a year now, then this conversation is for you. Make sure you listen to this conversation because I'm going to talk with you about how for less than $300 you can up your game when it comes to this stuff. By the way, if you dressed in a suit and tie a year ago, your $1,000 or $2,000 suit and tie a year ago, you've ditched that, right? You have a lot of money in your closet that you've basically ditched in place of all of this stuff that I'm talking with you on. Ponder this. Yesterday's $2,000 suit and tie, if that was your flavor, is equivalent to today's audio-visual stuff. Now, I am not making the point that you have to spend a lot of money to look good today. The point is if you focused on looking good before, then there's a way that you can look good today. By the way, for less than $300, and that's what I'm going to talk with you about. And I know that looking good is pretty rich coming from a guy who's talking with you in a $30 Under Armour shirt. But by the way, that also brings me to one of my other points here, and it is, if you don't know your stuff, if you're not providing value, none of this stuff matters, right? If you give me if you give me Warren Buffett talking with me on a ham radio, I would take him any day over some guy or gal that doesn't know anything talking on a $3,000 setup, right? So none of this stuff really matters unless you know your stuff, right? But I would argue that the audio-visual stuff far offsets any lack of dress, which I certainly have today, yes, I admit. By the way, who am I? My name's Charlie Gipple. I'm the owner of CG Financial Group and also the Retirement Academy. If you're a financial professional, and this video is for financial professionals and non-financial professionals, but if you are a financial professional, make sure you go to retirement-academy.com because you know what? We're launching on April 5th. And on April 5th, I think you're going to find that it's the premier sales and education platform in the industry for financial professionals. Retirement-academy.com. Give us your name. We'll keep you apprised on the Academy as we approach launch. So let's jump right into the technology recommendations in which, of course, I don't make any money off these recommendations. I just want to help people, right? So the first thing that the Retirement Academy recommends is a good webcam, right? This is obvious, a good webcam. Now, I'm not talking about webcam as in audio as well, because this particular webcam, a lot of them don't have very good audio, but I'll get to that here in a bit. Now, let me tell you a quick story. So I went through PR training is probably 10 years ago or so. I was with a company and they wanted me to go out and do media interviews, which was very cool. Go to Wall Street, do these various media interviews on the virtues of various types of products, annuities, life insurance, long-term care, all that stuff. But before I went, I had to go through PR training by a pretty notable PR firm. And by the way, maybe that firm is listening to this video today. Kudos to you guys because I learned some great stuff. The biggest thing that I learned was this. They said, Charlie, the camera dulls everything. Now, they were talking about body language and all that other stuff, which is important that you know as well. They said, Charlie, think half calf. If you just sit there and you talk to the camera like you're talking with your friend at coffee or drinks, then that camera dulls it down and you just come across as completely boring. But they said, Charlie, half calf, make sure that you're speaking a little differently than you would your buddy as you're having coffee, right? Because cameras dull everything. Cameras don't just dull kind of the theoretical stuff that we're talking about. They technically dull lighting as well. But if you have a good camera, good cameras capture lighting better than bad cameras. From a utilitarian standpoint, which is a perfect word for this camera, it's a lot of camera for the money, $35. That's exactly what I'm speaking with you on. Now, I'm going to upgrade just because I do a lot of audio-visual kind of sophisticated stuff that this camera, it's getting a little over its skis with some of the stuff that I'm doing here. But for $35, Microsoft on Amazon, it's a great webcam. And if you're still using your computer webcam, unless it's a great computer and a great webcam on your computer, chances are it probably looks pretty grainy, right? But again, if you're Warren Buffett, you can talk with me on a ham radio, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Now, in the vein of lighting, this little lighting setup, this is one of the setups that I have, HPUSN Softbox Lighting Kit. This is a $70 kit. They have some upgraded kits, but what this does is natural lighting. Now, it's not natural lighting, it's artificial natural lighting, but nothing is better than natural lighting, right? So if you're in your basement, you have just a lamp up, for example, then it's going to come across on the other side of the camera as if you're talking from a dungeon, right? Like nuclear bombs have started to fly and you're hidden in your dungeon and all that you had to light up the place was a lamp. Do not be that person that has no natural lighting come in. My point is, if you don't want to spend $70, open up a window or something, because natural light is better than, well, non-natural light. And this comes across to the camera like it is natural light, right? Lighting is important. Now, also, people being able to hear you is important. For $130, I would argue this is the best audio device that money could buy, at least in my opinion. Now, I don't want the technology compliance officer saying, no, technically that's not. In my opinion, in my limited experience with audiovisual stuff, I've just gotten good results with this. And by the way, 21,000 ratings, 4.5 stars. It appears that almost 22,000 people also agree with me. Now, this sophisticated thing right here, in any of my videos, you will see this thing back behind me there. There is power in the pin. PowerPoint slides, all of that stuff. Yes, I love PowerPoint slides, but they can be limited. From a psychological standpoint, PowerPoint slides can be limited. From a psychological standpoint, there is power in the pen when you're writing down various scenarios for a consumer. There's something that just comes across as custom made for that consumer when you're drawing out a particular concept on a whiteboard. And this is my whiteboard. It's $33. I think we're up to like $260 or something like that, right? This stuff is almost free. So again, I'm not talking about spending $2,000 on a setup. I'm saying that this wonderful stuff is equivalent to what trying to look good a year ago or 2 years ago was, right? And the flip chart, if you've ever, flip chart, this is actually a whiteboard. Flip charts work as well. If you've ever heard me present, I believe that there is power in the pen, and there are great presentation books I can share with you if you like that talks about power in the pen. Zoom, so now we're talking about the software, talking about the software technology, right? That's free up to 100 participants. Over 100 participants, it's not free. And by the way, if you're talking with over 100 participants, 100 customers, you have really good problems, right? But Zoom is free up to 100 participants. I also like GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar. I just like that technology a little better, the recording capabilities and stuff like that. But for the typical application, Zoom does a great job. Now, my favorite topic of all this from a technological standpoint, have you ever wondered how it is people are able to do stuff like this that I just did? And then, by the way, there's a logo down there. There's my number down there. What software is that allows for that? This software also allows for me to share browsers. It allows me to share any one of my 3 monitors here so that you can see kind of what I'm looking at. That software is called OBS video capture software. Well, I made up the video capture software, but obviously you need software to capture what it is that you're doing, right? It's not like you just buy a webcam and then boom, all of a sudden that webcam stores everything you're talking about. No, it has to be supported by software, and OBS is the stuff that I use. I record everything. Obviously, I'm recording this via OBS, and it is my favorite of all that. But all that, we're talking $268.15. $268.15. One recommendation I will make if you do a lot of stuff like website stuff and spreadsheets and comparing this to that is multiple monitors. 10 years ago, I thought that multiple monitors, why would I want multiple monitors? That's an overkill. Yes, I have some long spreadsheets, which I could see the value of spreading out that really long spreadsheet across 3 monitors. But outside of that, what's the value of it? Multiple websites at one time, multiple documents at one time. Now, it's a little more expensive talking about monitors than the other stuff, but that's a tip for you as well. Hope that makes sense. Again, Charlie Gipple with CG Financial Group and the Retirement Academy, retirement-academy.com. Go there, and if you like this, click like as well as share with your friends, which pretty much everybody on earth needs to know this technology stuff nowadays. Thank you and have a good day.